There's a shoreline within walking distance of where you launch that is holding every single thing a largemouth eats. Crayfish under the rocks, frogs in the grass at the edge, shiners along the weed line, sunfish in the shallows. All of it free, all of it alive, and all of it exactly what those fish have been eating their entire lives. 10 baits you gather yourself, counting down from 10 to 1. And this is not a video about saving money, though you will. It is about fishing something that is genuinely native to the water you are standing on, which is a thing no bait shop can sell you. And there is a split worth knowing before we start, because the two species want different things. Largemouth lean toward shiners and worms in shallow weeds and wood. Smallmouth lean toward crayfish and shad, and some smallmouth populations depend on crayfish more than on anything else they eat. And that gives you a shortcut on unfamiliar water. If you are fishing where rocks meet running water, crayfish should be your first choice before you try anything else. If you are fishing shallow weeds and wood in a warm pond, a shiner or a frog. The bottom type tells you what to collect before you have made a single cast. Stick around, because number 2 doubles as a fish detector and almost nobody knows it. And number 1 is the bait that outproduces everything else on this list for a big largemouth. If you fish, subscribe, because we take this stuff apart every week. One quick thing before number 10. Live bait only matters if it is sitting where the fish actually hold. That whole system, the cover and the seasonal windows, is inside the angler's vault. First link in the description, QR code in the corner, the whole video. Now, let's get into it. Before any of this, the legal part, and here it is genuinely complicated rather than a formality. Rules on collecting and using live bait vary enormously between states, and some of them hinge on one specific detail. In Florida, you may use sunfish, bluegill, warmouth, and shellcracker as bait, but only if you caught them yourself. In some other states, using panfish as bait is illegal entirely unless you bought them from a licensed dealer. Same fish, opposite rule. Decided by where you are standing. A few more that catch people out. Goldfish are illegal as bait almost everywhere. Some states require a specific bait collection permit, and individual lakes and rivers sometimes ban a species that is perfectly legal 50 miles away. Check the water you are fishing, not just the state. And the rule that keeps you safe almost everywhere is simple. Collect your bait in the same water you are going to fish it in, and never carry a bucket from one lake to another. That single habit covers most restrictions, and it stops you spreading anything between waters. And even where moving bait is legal, it is worth not doing. Invasive species and fish diseases travel in bait buckets, and a lot of the damage done to fisheries over the last 30 years started with somebody being careless about exactly that. The fishery you protect is the one you are about to enjoy. And a quick search on the specific lake before you go is worth the 2 minutes. Individual waters carry their own restrictions, for reasons that are usually local and specific. And the rule that applies 50 miles away often does not apply where you are standing. Number 10. Nightcrawlers. The oldest one, and still on the list, because a big worm on a light line catches largemouth in cover that will refuse everything else. Collect them at night on wet grass after rain, or make a permanent spot by laying cardboard and compost on damp ground where they already gather. Lift the cardboard, take what you need, put it back. No digging and no mess. And for a largemouth, thread the whole worm rather than pinching off a piece. A big nightcrawler moving naturally on a light line under a bobber, is a genuinely large meal, and it draws a size of fish that a small piece never will. Panfish bait presentation and largemouth bait presentation are different jobs, and the hook has to match. A worm big enough to interest a serious fish needs a hook with enough gap to actually connect, which means going up in size from what you would use for panfish. Undersized hooks on oversized bait is one of the most common reasons people get bites and land nothing. Number 9. Grasshoppers and crickets. Overlooked for largemouth because people think of them as panfish bait. Walk a field of tall grass in late summer, and they scatter ahead of you. For crickets, put sugar on stale bread near a woodpile at dusk and cover it with cardboard, then collect in the morning. Fish them weightless along a bank where the grass hangs over the water and something falls in every few minutes anyway. And that is the whole reason it works, which is worth stating plainly. Under overhanging grass and brush, insects fall into the water constantly all summer. Fish that live along those banks are conditioned to look up and eat things landing on the surface. And a real grasshopper landing there is not a trick, it is the expected event. And fish it with no weight at all if you can. A grasshopper that lands and struggles on the surface for a few seconds before slowly sinking is the exact sequence those fish are watching for. Add a sinker, and you skip the part that triggers everything. Quick thing before the rest of the list, and before number 1. If you are learning something here, hit the like button so it reaches the next angler paying for shiners. And point your camera at the QR code, or tap the first link below. Number 8. Leeches. Underused in warm water and genuinely excellent, especially for smallmouth in clear conditions. The wriggling action is what does it. Catch them with a small metal container, a soup can or a coffee can, baited and left submerged in shallow, weedy water. They also stay alive on a hook far longer than most live bait, which matters when you are covering water slowly. And the movement is doing something specific. A leech swims with an undulating ribbon motion that nothing else in the water does, and it is highly visible from below. In clear water, that motion is what gets noticed from a distance, which is exactly the situation where a bait that just sits there gets ignored. And leeches have a seasonal window worth respecting. They are at their best when the water is cooler, in spring and again in autumn, and less effective in the heat of midsummer. Match the bait to the season, and half the guesswork disappears. Number 7. Creek chub and wild minnows on a fly rod. The most enjoyable collection method here. Larger members of the minnow family take small dry flies and nymphs. A 3-weight rod with a size 14 humpy or woolly worm fills a bucket from a creek in an afternoon. And chub are tough, so they survive on a hook long after a delicate baitfish has given up. And toughness deserves more weight than it gets when choosing live bait. A slightly less preferred baitfish that is still swimming after 2 hours beats the perfect forage species that died in 20 minutes. You are not fishing the bait you chose. You are fishing whatever is still alive. So check every 20 minutes or so, especially in warm water. Reel in, look, and replace anything that has stopped moving. It feels excessive, and it is the whole difference between fishing live bait and soaking a dead one while believing otherwise. Number 6. Shad, with a serious warning attached. Largemouth are very fond of both threadfin and gizzard shad, and they are a pain to catch and keep alive. They need a lot of oxygen in the tank, and they die quickly if they lose slime and scales from being handled too much. Hook them through the lips and fish them under a bobber or weightless, and use a bobber for a practical reason beyond bite detection. Keeping the bait off the bottom increases how long the baitfish survives, which means fewer rebaits over a day. Anglers running multiple rods with shiners use bobbers specifically for that, not just to see the take. And when the bobber goes down with a shiner, do not set the hook immediately. Let it move off for a second or two so the fish has actually taken the bait rather than just grabbed it sideways. Setting too early on live bait pulls it away from a fish that was about to commit. Number 5. Golden shiners, caught with a small hook and a bread ball. This is the method almost nobody uses, and it works everywhere. A small, long shank hook with a bread ball on it will catch shiners, big minnows, and sunfish all day. They gather along the weedy edges of warm ponds and lakes, which is exactly where you are already standing. No cast net, no trap, just a light rod and a slice of bread. And there is a reason this method is better than it sounds. You are catching bait in exactly the water you are about to fish, which means it is the right size, the right species, and the right smell for that lake. A shiner from your pond is a more accurate imitation of your pond than any shiner from a tank 3 towns over. And you can do this while you are already fishing. Keep a light rod rigged with a small hook in the boat or on the bank. When the action slows, spend 10 minutes catching bait. Then go back to fishing with something fresh. It turns dead time into preparation instead of frustration. Number 4. The minnow trap. Set it and it works while you sleep. Bait it with bread, salted crackers, or dry dog food. Tie it to a dock or a tree limb in shallow water and leave it overnight. Check the labeling rules in your state because many require your name and address on the trap. And placement decides whether it works at all. Shallow water near cover, out of the current, where small fish already gather. A trap in open deep water catches nothing. A trap tucked against a weed edge next to a dock is full by morning, and it costs about $15 once. One more before the top 3. Let me earn the follow. Everything I know about reading cover, finding structure, and timing the bite is organized inside the angler's vault. Point your camera at the code or tap the first link. One payment, yours for life. Number 3. Small sunfish, where it is legal. And this one is the most natural meal on the entire list. A big largemouth in a pond eats sunfish constantly, because that is what lives there in numbers. Catch them with a tiny hook and a small piece of worm, and use a very small piece because they are nibblers and will peck a big bait apart without taking the hook. And there is a trick worth knowing for that. Tiny pieces of soft plastic worm made for scent stay on a small hook far better than a real worm does, which means you spend your time catching bait instead of rebaiting for it. It is one of the few places where an artificial genuinely beats the real thing. And catch your sunfish shallow and quickly rather than working for them. Around docks, in the shallows, anywhere you can see them. 10 minutes with a tiny hook gets you what you need. And any longer than that, and you are spending your fishing day on preparation. Number 2. Live crayfish. Few freshwater fish can resist one, and smallmouth in particular rely on them more heavily than on anything else they eat. A commercial wire mesh trap is the most effective way to get them. Bait it with chicken wings, necks, or liver and set it in a lake, pond, creek, river, ditch, or backwater. Keep them in a foam container out of the sun, with just enough water to half cover them. And half covering them is the detail people get wrong. Crayfish breathe with gills, but they need access to air, and a container filled to the top drowns them surprisingly fast. Half covered, out of the sun, and they last all day. Fully submerged in a warm bucket, and you have a container of dead bait by noon. And here's the thing about crayfish that almost nobody knows. Your bait doubles as a detector. If the crayfish suddenly starts tugging hard and moving in a panic, it is frightened of a fish nearby. They do not jump around for no reason. When that happens, leave it exactly where it is. Think about what that gives you. Most live bait tells you nothing until a fish eats it. A crayfish tells you a fish is close before anything happens, which means you know to stop moving, stop retrieving, and let the situation develop. That is information no lure and no other bait on this list provides. And crayfish are difficult to find by hand, for a reason that also explains why they work. They are extremely good at hiding under rocks, so an exposed crayfish out in the open is a rare and easy meal. When you present one where a fish can see it, you are offering something that almost never happens naturally. And number 1, the live frog. Because it will often outproduce every other bait on this list for a big largemouth. You need 2 things to collect them: a headlamp and a long-handled fine mesh dip net. Walk a pond shoreline slowly at night and look for them along the edge. And here is what makes it work when they get away. If one leaps into the water before you reach it, do not give up. Wait for the sediment to settle, then shine your light where it went in. You will often see the reflected rays of your headlamp in the frog's eyes, and then you reach in with the net and scoop it up. And a frog is worth the night walk for one reason. It is the biggest easy meal a largemouth can get in shallow water. And a fish that has grown large did so by taking meals that were worth the effort. A frog is worth the effort in a way a 2-inch minnow simply is not. Frogs also work for walleye in autumn, near places where marshes join the main lake. Same collection method, different fish. And almost nobody does it because collecting frogs at night sounds like more effort than driving to a bait shop. It is about the same amount of effort, and it costs nothing. Now hooking, because it decides where your bait swims, and most people never think about it. A nose-hooked bait fish tends to swim down. So if you are fishing under a bobber, nose hook it and set the bobber depth, and you control exactly how deep that bait works all day. In shallow cover, a split shot and a tight line keeps a bait fish from drifting up toward the surface and looking unnatural. In deeper water, freeline it or add a small split shot to get it down. And in most ponds and canals, you are fishing 8 feet or less, so you barely need weight at all. And the gear to collect all of this comes to almost nothing. A long-handled fine mesh dip net, a wire crayfish trap, a minnow trap, a headlamp, and a foam container. Under $60 total, bought once, and it replaces every bait shop trip you will ever make. So there they are. Nightcrawlers, grasshoppers, and crickets. Leeches, creek chub, shad, golden shiners on a bread ball, the minnow trap, small sunfish, live crayfish, and the frog at number 1. 10 baits, no money, and every one of them already living where you fish. And here is the sentence I want you to keep. A bait shop sells you a good general answer. The shoreline you are standing on holds the specific answer, for that water on that day. One of those costs money, and the other one costs 20 minutes and a net. Everything I know about reading cover, finding structure, and timing the bite is inside the angler's vault. First link below, one payment, yours for good. Now tell me down in the comments, have you ever caught your own bait for a big fish, and did it work? I read every single one.